afternoon, but becomes more persistent across Orkney and Shetland later. Sunnier spells elsewhere. Again, sunshine might turn hazy for some of us, but otherwise temperatures are rising up to 31, possibly 32 degrees. It's a similar picture as we start Tuesday morning. Again, low cloud around, outbreaks of rain continuing across Scotland, perhaps not as heavy or persistent. Brighter spells further towards the south, and again, temperatures still rising. So it is going to be turning hot as we go through the week, Wednesday and Thursday in particular, but it won't be as high in terms of the humidity, highs of up to 34.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. On Free Speech Nation tonight, Labour tearing themselves apart again over puberty blockers. Lisa Nandy has quit X and accused the site of being unhealthy for our democracy. I'll be giving you my thoughts on the viral comedian who used this set to slam Israeli audience members for supposedly supporting a genocide. And the Girl Guides are inviting transgender burlesque dancers to teach about inclusion. And we've got comedians answering some crazy culture conundrums from our live studio audience. But first, the news with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 7:01. England are set to face Mexico tonight, but there's a risk the start of the game could be delayed or paused due to thunderstorms in the area. Kick-off is at 1 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning at the Azteca Stadium. More than 7,000 police officers have been deployed to the grounds amid fears over the safety of fans, with England supporters urged to arrive hours before the match and avoid certain areas after. Former Prime Minister Tony Blair has warned Andy Burnham against raising capital gains tax if he becomes the next Prime Minister, saying it would damage the economy. The MP for Makerfield is also planning to expand mansion tax to homes worth £1.5 million. That move could see more than 150,000 homeowners facing higher bills. The government says it's doing everything it can to deport the ringleader of the Rochdale grooming gang. Shabir Ahmed, who was freed this week after serving 14 years in prison for 30 child rape offences, says he can't go back to Pakistan as he renounced his citizenship and tore up his passport. Officials in Pakistan maintain the 73-year-old is no longer a citizen. It's reported Russian hackers have infiltrated the email accounts of UK government officials in a major national security breach. According to The Telegraph, the attack, which is ongoing, credentials for overseas Foreign Office staff and local government officials across the UK have been exposed. Dark web forums are trading access to the logins for more than £40,000. Robert Jenrick says no rules have been broken by Nigel Farage after reports he failed to declare benefits provided by a friend who was once convicted of fraud. The Sunday Times says George Cottrell provided security and social media staff to Mr Farage in the year before he was elected. But Reform UK's Treasury spokesperson says there was no need to register the support as it was within a purely personal capacity and before he became an MP. And wildfires are continuing to burn across much of southern Europe amid a record-breaking heat wave. Spanish military crews are supporting firefighters in Portugal after fires broke out on Thursday. Nearly 30,000 acres have been destroyed. Meanwhile, the Tour de France could be forced to cancel the third stage of the tour as wildfires rage across the southwest of the country. And back in the UK, temperatures are expected to reach 34 degrees next week, while a 7-day-long extreme heat warning is in force. You're up to date. I'll have more for you at 8 o'clock.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. The world is mental. Let's fix it. Lots coming up tonight. Are Labour tearing themselves apart over the trans issue again? We'll discuss reports of a fallout between the Health Secretary and a gender-critical junior minister. Our Culture Secretary quits X with a parting shot accusing Elon Musk's platform of spreading disinformation. But is she doing harm to our democracy by avoiding open debate? And after a stand-up comic used his platform to attack Israeli members in the audience with a freestyle rap, I will be giving you my thoughts on why it was just old-school racism. But first, the tragic murder of baby Preston Davey by the two men who adopted him has sparked a major debate about how we approach adoption in our society, especially amid allegations that the authorities didn't do enough to stop the abuse because they were afraid of being tarnished as homophobic. Tough questions are being asked about the necessity of a woman's role when raising an adopted child. So, should men be allowed to adopt or foster children without women? Jean Hatchett has been writing about this issue this week and she joins me now in the studio. Welcome, Jean. This is obviously a very controversial topic.
Yeah.
But you just went out there, you just wrote exactly what you think, which is that if women aren't involved in the adoption or the fostering process, then men shouldn't be allowed to adopt. Can you just talk us through your reasoning?
Yeah, I think it's important to say that, I'm not saying that, all women should be mothers or are good mothers, or that all men are bad fathers. That's really not the case. It is just stranger men are an unpredictable risk and they're an unacceptable risk. And we've seen the very tragic outcome of taking that chance with two men. But even if it was a single man, the statistics are too heavily stacked against, the safety of the child. And you have to ask, why is the child not being prioritised? Whose needs are being met? Because if there is a risk, we're looking at some really terrible figures there in... the National Crime Agency have said there are potentially 750,000 men who would like to have sex with children. That's a huge figure. And, the Police Chief Association head has said that they couldn't lock up all the child sexual abusers that there are in the country. There aren't enough jail spaces. So if we've got that level of risk, it has to be minimised as much as it can possibly be. And you'd got this man who was a head of safeguarding in his school, and even he, was not a trustworthy man at the end of the day to look after, this poor baby. And it just can't happen. Until the risk is zero, it can't be allowed to happen.
So this isn't about, for you, this isn't about gay men or straight men. This is just for you a male issue. Men commit more sex crimes by far, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So they are a bigger risk. If there was any risk shown by women alone, would you take the same process for them? For you, it's just about the safety of the baby.
I think it's really important as well that these are stranger men. These aren't men who are fathers to the children. These are men who are strangers to that child. It's a stranger in a situation with a child that they don't have any relationship with. And, whatever their reasons, we don't know what their reasons for wanting that role in that child's life are, whether they are selfish reasons, whether they are really good reasons, which we know that lots of... I know friends that have adopted and who are men.
Do you think they would be very upset to hear you saying what you're saying?
No, I spoke to one today, and he said he'd give it a really good consideration. He'd not really thought about it.
He's not going to give up his...
But he's got a wife, and they went and undertook the journey together. So I think that's... And women can't minimise that risk either. We're not going to be this magical presence if there is an abusive man. But it's about lowering that risk as much as it can possibly be lowered. And, we've got 63 child homicides a year in the UK. The majority are committed by step-parents or parents. But when it comes to the under ones, there are roughly 19-20, and they are usually committed by men. So we have to look at the statistics and be less emotional about, this, well, I'm a man and I'm a good man and I don't do this and I don't do that. No, but let's focus on the baby that might happen to, rather than you as an individual man.
It's a strange one, because to be honest, that's kind of the reaction that I had. I've got 5 kids. I think I'm a good dad. Sometimes I shout. But when you read something like this, it's hard to not bring your own ego into it. There's also, of course, the threat that it sort of plays to a kind of a far right or a homophobic rhetoric, which says that actually gay men or any man shouldn't be able to adopt. And that seems like a step backwards from where we have progressed as a society. At least some people would say that, and there is that danger.
It does, but then men have to work with each other to reduce the risk that other men are. This has to be a mass and really coordinated effort to bring down the male violence that men commit against children. And so, no, it's not of course, everybody said, well, it's not all men, and it's not me specifically. I'm a very good father. Yes, that's great, that's wonderful, and that's lovely and anecdotal. Fine. But this baby was murdered within a few weeks. It wasn't very long, and it wasn't like they'd I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they did this when they clearly had the ability to murder a baby and do some really grotesque things to that baby before that child died. Then we can't let that happen again. I've been here before talking about men in nursery situations, 2 in the last year, who have raped babies in their care in nursery situations, and they've sought those positions. So we can't assume that men aren't going to seek adoption. They're seeking surrogacy in great numbers. So you don't know what... You can't eliminate that risk in order to appease the men who say not all men. And I'm sorry, it's very hard line of me.
No, it is hard line, and I imagine that there are people out there, when I put this question online, there were people who felt very clearly along the lines. I guess there's a balance here of meeting the needs of also, remember that there's a lot of people who aren't adopting. There's a lot of kids who need parents, who need foster parents. And there's the argument that really, as long as, of course, the safeguarding works out, that as many parents, men or women, should be allowed to foster children, which would be better than the system as is, maybe being in a care home.
Yeah, we also know that that system is fairly broken at the moment, don't we? That there aren't enough social workers. They are massively overstretched, and I'm not going to put all the blame on them, but there were missed chances to stop those men because everybody in that environment is under stress, and they're not necessarily resourced enough to look out for that baby, because I know people that have gone into adoption and very quickly found themselves in a situation where, wow, there's no support now. The support is fairly limited, and so the scrutiny, likewise, is fairly limited. So, you know, do we do this with children? Just say, well, let's see what happens. No, we can't just see what happens. We take the risk out first. It's not about kindness and diversity and inclusion when it comes to this. This is about risk and babies and children. So I think we have to minimise it as much as possible.
If it was minimised in another way, if there was the resources put into social care, that there was this oversight necessary, that would cut down on this level of risk, do you think you would change your mind then?
I'd have to see some reduction in the statistics of child sexual abuse and male offenders. I mean, it's 98% of child sexual abusers are male. We can't get away from those stats. Those stats have to be reduced before we can look at other measures that would allow men to adopt.
How do you think those stats would be reduced? Do you think that it's important? I mean, say you cut down sexual abuse, it's likely that that ratio would stay the same, though, wouldn't it? In terms of most sex crimes being committed by men.
But the level of crime that's committed at the moment, you know, when you're looking at, as I said, 750,000 men who would like to have sex with children, this is coming through. You know, when we look at violent porn that men are watching, and the access to younger and younger children within that, and, you know, the underground stuff that men are able to access as well, which is just awful. Just it's a sewer, and until we can eliminate that sewer from all of those causes that you know, men that aren't all men, they are just this sewer of men who seek out children to sexually abuse. And until that can be rooted out, and all the causes of that are rooted out, I don't really see that risk can be eliminated. And until it is, we can't allow those men to adopt children.
Well, you know what, fair enough. The reason why having this it's a very tricky conversation. I think a lot of people will be upset about it. Thank you very much. I want to talk to somebody else, the founder of Dad's House, Billy McGranaghan, MBE, who set up a charity to help single fathers that are parenting alone. Billy, have you seen the interview we just had with Jean?
Yeah, I have to say I agree with Jean on a lot of her things, but not all men are abusers. I mean, the most amazing.
Well, I don't think she was saying that, to be fair. She wasn't saying all men. Yeah.
I can't hear.
Yeah, but the thing is, Josh, it's really important that there's 80,000 children in the care system in the UK today, and there's not really that many children being set up for adoption, or foster care. I think there's about 3,000. And within that, there has to be dads and men who are brilliant role models for those children. And it's really important that men are there, you know, and men are seen to be with the children, because it seems to be that, again, men are getting lambasted left, right and centre, and it should be happening. And I agree with Jean with the sexual abuse online. I've never seen anything like it in my life, more now than ever before. You know, so men need a chance. Men have to get out there and support other men also.
Do you agree with what Jean was saying, that the high proportion of males is what is the problem? That it's men who mostly commit these crimes. It's not that the argument isn't that men shouldn't be involved in children's lives. I think that men have a vital role to play with children's lives. But when it comes to adoption, that there might be men who will exploit the system and find the loopholes. That's what we've seen men do in various other systems.
Well, I think with the Baby Preston case, it's the local authority should hang their heads in shame for letting this happen to that poor child. And everyone in the UK, I would imagine, would have had a tear streaming down their face reading that story when the media broke that out, Josh, you know, because that was absolutely heartbreaking. But I agree with the statistics. You have to go with the statistics. It's very important. And it's very important not to blame men who want to get into the foster care system, who want to help children to have a better life either. You know, it's really important that they're there, and the local authorities, through hindsight, can better themselves in doing what they do.
Do you think that there should be limitations placed, though? I think some of the examples that Jean pointed out in her article, there was a 72-year-old single man who, I think that was possibly surrogacy, which is slightly different, but there do have to be some limitations, don't you think, placed?
Yeah, but I think, again, George, I think when it comes to surrogacy, that's a different thing, because you have to go to the family court to get a parental order from a family court judge. You know, so the scrutiny is there, you know, and the scrutiny is there for foster care and adoption, you know, but a 72-year-old man, yeah, I think common sense is out the window. How could a 72-year-old man run around after a toddler? His heart's in the right place. You know, anyone at any age who wants to help a child, it's fantastic.
OK, well, thank you so much for joining us. Billy, your organisation, Dad's House, I know it does fantastic work, so I very much appreciate you joining us. And also a big round of applause for Jean Hatchett. Next on Free Speech Nation, which major tourist destination has barred an LGBTQ+ cruise from decking at its ports, citing family values? Find out after the break. See you then.
Bowl.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nation, my comedian guest this evening are Cressida Wetton and Miriam Elliott. Wonderful people. How are you doing, Miriam? You all right?
I'm fine, thank you. Enjoying this beautiful weather.
Yes, absolutely. Cressida, you've just been stuck in the office all day.
I've no idea what it's like. This is all right, though, isn't it?
It's really hot outside.
And cool.
And there's football tonight, just so you know. They don't allow her out much. Right, well, let's get some questions from our audience, and our first one's from Jeff.
Hi, Josh. Hi. Why do Labour seem so intent on giving vulnerable children experimental drugs?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Why do Labour seem so intent on giving vulnerable children experimental damaging drugs? The Telegraph are reporting that a junior minister was stripped of responsibility for a puberty blocker trial after expressing safety concerns. Health Secretary James Murray stopped his colleague Preet Kaur Gill, the Minister for Health, Innovation and Safety, from taking over a leading role on the controversial Pathways trial. The trial will involve 226 children who believe they are transgender being offered puberty-suppressing drugs. Girls young as 11, I think, as boys as young as 12. So it seems like Labour's intent on just kind of alienating everybody sane.
Well, I thought Wes Streeting had put a ban on this stuff some time ago.
There was like a pause on it. It's also going to court, but it does seem interesting that I actually saw an interview with Camilla on the previous hour with the Health Secretary. He's very adamant. He's denying that there was a correlation between this minister being sort of gender critical. But it does, well, it just seems, Cressida, it's a little bit of a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Yes, what a shocker.
And even if that were the case, aren't we supposed to have a diverse range of voices everywhere these days? Shouldn't there be somebody in the room saying, maybe this isn't such a great idea?
Yeah, maybe giving drugs to kids.
Maybe just go with the trial that's already happened. Look at the adults who've had these drugs. And obviously it's difficult to get hold of that data now because people in the chain are being very difficult. I can't see that there's any reason to have this trial.
Well, this is the big thing. I don't know if you know much about this pathway trial, but the point was that they recommended first, because there were a bunch of kids who got these drugs over the last decade or so, look at what their situation is as adults. Have they got brittle bone syndrome? What has been their mental development over the last decade? They can't seem to pursue this information.
No, it's completely... They're mentally ill people experimenting on children, in my opinion.
You're talking about the Labour Party?
Yes. You shouldn't be touching a child in any way. You shouldn't be giving them any drugs. They should be experiencing normal puberty, because it's natural. When they're of age 17, 18, they should be able to choose if they want to be a man or a woman. But before that, I think this whole thing is really eerie and bizarre.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that, Cressida, that it's sort of amazing to find a Labour minister who she comes from a health background. She's looked into the information. She's requested that people sort of meet with doctors, and yet they were like, no, quick. It seems like they've.
Were you going to say it's hard to find a Labour minister who isn't into this stuff?
Well,
they keep firing them, Josh. That's why.
Is that what it is?
Yes. Well, it could just be a massive coincidence.
Well, fine. Well, look, let's go to a clip now from Camilla's show with the Health Secretary.
get that clinical evidence so that the future of this matter can be settled on the basis
So we're just going to use children as guinea pigs?
No, so when I was taking this decision, when it came to me and I had to take a position on this, I took a far heightened level of scrutiny over this than I would any other trial, any other clinical trial, because it involves young people, it involves children.
I love Camilla. She's such a badass. She's who I want to be when I grow up. Our next question is from Sean.
OK, a bit of a change of pace from that one. This is who would you like to see win between the BBC and Bob Vylan?
Oh, Bob Vylan, yes. Who would you like to win out of BBC and Bob Vylan? So this is punk duo Bob Vylan announced plans to sue the BBC for alleged defamation after airing their Death to the IDF chants at last summer's Glastonbury. So you're obviously, I know you're a big fan, Sean, of Bob Vylan and the BBC. So yes, who do you want to win?
Well, I mean, I have an interest in punk music, basically, for many, many years. I currently run a punk band, or have a punk band under my control. But in terms of Bob Vylan, I mean, they were allowed to say these things on the BBC, which is not great. They should have been vetted in advance. And if I was organising the festival, I certainly would have been very embarrassed by the whole thing. And I think the BBC should be very embarrassed by the fact they allowed it to happen in the first place.
Well, this is, yes, indeed. Well, so, yeah, kind of said everything that we wanted to say there, Cressida. But yes, what do you think about this? Did you watch it last summer? Did you go, yeah, were you chanting along with it?
Clip many times.
Yeah.
No, Josh, even after working, no. No, of course not. Yeah, it's a bitter choice, isn't it? Who do you want to win? I'd like to see a representative from both parties in a sort of comedy charity boxing match. I think that might be a good way to resolve it.
That would be an interesting way to resolve it. I think, to be honest, Bob Vylan, he's pretty muscly.
To me, he's completely establishment, so I'm surprised that the BBC... I thought they would be championing this.
Well, they did. Well, they championed it.
But only
because they're complete...
minutes.
What?
And they only for 40... Was it 40 minutes?
For 40 minutes, but...
And then...
You know, they can say what they want about Jews, can't they?
Well, they did,
or Israel, or the IDF. They can just spout the bloody blood libel left, right, and centre constantly.
Well, stick around for the monologue that's coming up.
And yeah, well.
Well, but the other thing, Miriam, is people forget from the original clip, it wasn't just chants to the death to the IDF. It was also he started going on about his Jewish manager. And there was
some of my best friends, that bit.
Yeah, and all of that. Right. So look, let's get our next question from Andy.
Good evening, panel. We hear this week that a gay-friendly cruise in the Med with nearly 2,000 passengers was refused entry into Turkey. When are our so-called progressives going to call out Turkey's homophobia?
Yeah, great question. When are progressives going to call out Turkey's homophobia? So Turkish authorities, they banned a cruise ship catering to an American LGBTQ+ travellers from docking in the country's port, citing moral standards and family values. So this is homophobia.
Yes.
And yet all of our so-called progressives in this country seem to be very quiet now that Turkey has banned the ship and basically said that they're moral deviants.
Well, they're busy, aren't they? They've got to fight all the terrible homophobia, sexism, racism, all the isms that are going on in this country. So they don't have time to look abroad, do they? I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Clearly, they should be calling it out. Maybe they're a little bit uncomfortable with the religion in Turkey, and maybe they think we can't mention that.
Are you saying you can't criticise Islam? No, that is incredibly controversial, Cressida.
I wonder if that might be flavouring this somewhat.
Yes, the flavour of homophobia within Islam, parts of Islam.
Well, it's Sharia, isn't it? It's in Sharia law.
Yes.
So they're just basically enacting what it says to do in the book.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to talk about that.
Well, we should talk about that because that's the reality.
All right, talk about it, go.
OK,
yeah.
That's the reality, that's what they believe, you know. It seems like progressives here are only really concerned with demonising Jews and any other group of people that they purport to care deeply about, you know, with their bleeding hearts. They'll just chuck them under a bus as soon as they can. So it's never really about caring. They won't do it because it's tactical, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Be like, well, turn the cruise ship around. It's their culture.
There we go. Exactly. Well, look, our final question for the moment is from Anton.
Why are people upset about two Queens meeting?
Why are people upset about two Queens meeting? This is, of course, Queen Camilla's meeting with J.K. Rowling. The royal family are facing backlash from keyboard warriors after the Queen was pictured with the Queen. Children's author and women's rights activist J.K. Rowling. On their social media account, the royal family said Her Majesty and Ms. Rowling discussed the importance of ensuring that young people have access to books and the vital part that reading plays in opening doors for future generations. It's sad, Cresta, that this is brave of the Queen to meet one of the UK's most respected literary figures, charity figures, and yet that is sort of... She sort of said, look, she knew she would get abuse for it.
So you don't see this as two truly evil women coming together to do terrible, evil things, then? You don't think this is...
Well, now you sell that argument. I mean, I'm always suspicious when two women meet.
Two women. Rightly so, Josh.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't get together just talking about kids reading. Yeah, I mean, of course it's sad. And she knew. The Queen braced herself, or her people, whoever writes her Instagram stuff. They said, we know it's coming, but she did.
Are you saying that the Queen isn't on Instagram herself? Sort of tweeting? No, I don't think that.
But who knows? I don't know. I don't know if I follow her. Sorry, Queen.
Anyway, this has actually very much warmed me to the monarchy and the Queen. I think it is great. I mean, it shouldn't be, but I think, you know, good for her.
Good for her. Yeah, it's good for her. I think it's very brave of her, actually. Given the amount of backlash she's... I mean, I'm not on these Twitter, Instagram things because it just looks absolutely awful. You know, but I suppose if you have that much money and power or whatever, you can kind of shield yourself in some way from it anyway. So you might.
J.K. Rowling.
Well, both of them, you know, they can stand up for something, can't they?
Well, absolutely. So, you know, look, good on the Queen, and obviously we.
I mean, look, all they're saying is
J.K. Rowling.
Children should read books.
That's how controversial.
How controversial.
How crazy is that? I would just be happy if children could read my ones. Anyway, now going back to a previous story, we talked about Bob Vylan and the BBC. The BBC News have reached out to the BBC, but they declined to comment. Right, well, that is the end of this section of Free Speech Nation. Come back. Fraser Myers from Spiked is going to be joining us. We've had some pretty big stories happening in the world of free speech this week. You don't want to miss it. See you in 2 minutes.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, and welcome to your holiday sun forecast from the Met Office. It's still going to be hot across parts of Spain and Portugal over the next few days, and there are a few showers further east. But across Lisbon, we get up to 38 degrees, into the mid-30s across mainland Spain as well. But the further east we go, there is some outbreaks of some showers, possibly even some thunderstorms across Turkey as well, but still pretty warm here in that sunshine. Those showers will ease, and as we go through the week, those temperatures are slowly on the rise.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to a GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into the new week, we've got rainfall again in the northwest of Scotland, but high pressure is building and we'll start to see temperatures rising again through the week. Currently, we have high pressure situated to the southwest of the UK, fronts draped across the north, bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain. It's northwestern parts of Scotland that is going to see the rainfall accumulating, 20 to 40 millimetres, possibly 100 in some spots, and that continuing to progress eastwards into Northern Isles as well. Further towards the south, there is going to be some murky conditions with low cloud and hill fog and some patchy rain and drizzle, but temperatures are going to be holding up around 15 to 17 degrees. So quite a mild start to Monday morning. It's a damp start for most of Scotland, but across Shetland, that's where we hold on to the clearest skies overnight, leading to a bright start on Monday morning. Further towards the west, that's where we have the rainfall warning until 10 o'clock. So outbreaks of rain continuing. Across Northern Ireland, Northern England, cloudy here. And for the west, across Wales and the southwest of England, some low cloud, hill fog, thick enough for some drizzle. Best of the sunshine across the south and east. Some of that sunshine could turn hazy as we go into the afternoon, that low cloud burning back to the coast, and then across Scotland, most of that rain does start easing as we head into the afternoon, but becomes more persistent across Orkney and Shetland later. Sunnier spells elsewhere. Again, sunshine might turn hazy for some of us, but otherwise temperatures are rising up to 31, possibly 32 degrees. It's a similar picture as we start Tuesday morning. Again, low cloud around, outbreaks of rain continuing across Scotland, perhaps not as heavy or persistent. Brighter spells further towards the south, and again, temperatures still rising. So it is going to be turning hot as we go through the week, Wednesday and Thursday in particular, but it won't be as high in terms of the humidity, highs of up to 34.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB loyalty points are here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on Your Say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB loyalty points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Lloyds Banking Group has been accused of debanking the left-wing news website The Canary. In an article, the outlet accused the bank of withholding a substantial amount of money, despite having banked with them for over a decade. It's certainly not the first time that banks have distanced themselves from organisations viewed as politically controversial. In one of the most notorious cases, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage was dropped by Coutts, which is, I don't know, that's far too rich for me, which is part of the NatWest group. I can pronounce that one. The Canary's outrage over its apparent debanking is made all the more ironic when you consider that in 2020 it published an article claiming that cancel culture was a myth. Well, I am joined now by the Deputy Editor of Spite, Fraser Myers. Welcome to the show.
Hello, good evening.
I want to say, I'm not a fan of Canary.
Yeah.
Do not like their output. They should not be being debanked.
Absolutely right. I mean, this is an incredibly serious thing to happen to anyone. It's terrible if it happens to an individual. It's even worse when it happens to an organisation. If you think of an organisation like that, it's a media organisation, they can't pay their staff, they can't pay their contributors. It's an absolutely awful position for anyone to be put in, regardless of their political views. And I think it's really important that sometimes these cases come around. Often, you know, it is the right that is cancelled more often. I don't think there should be any debate about that. But it's a reminder that everyone's free speech is under threat when we're in an environment where simply holding the wrong view can lead to punishment, can lead to your arrest, can lead to you being sacked from work. And I'd say these are even more serious cases where you cannot simply operate financially because of your political views. Now, we don't know for certain what the reason is for the Canary being debanked. They accuse Lloyds of being political. But the fact that we have seen so many cases like this previously suggests there may have been someone somewhere, deep within the bank that has decided that they can't work with the Canary. And, it does span the range of political views. You mentioned Nigel Farage from Reform UK, but also there's been campaigners for Scottish independence who've been debanked. There was one case of a reverend who made gender-critical tweets and the bank noticed it and removed his bank account. I think there was one major bank that says, if you have gender-critical views, please don't bank with us. So I think there was a time during the sort of peak woke era where banks would have been more strident in saying that we don't want to associate anyone who has potentially problematic views. We're not in that period anymore, but let's not be fooled. Censorship is still happening on a big scale.
Absolutely. Well, good on Free Speech Union. I believe that they are stepping up. Again, I don't think that they would agree with a lot of the views from the Canary.
The Free Speech Union was debanked by PayPal, so it can really happen to anyone, even people who are just explicitly in favour of free speech.
Do you think that people on the left now might start going, cancel culture is a thing? Because we've got some tweets here from friend of the show, Owen Jones. That's a joke, he's not a friend of the show, but he's talking here, cancel culture has become a meaninglessly, broad and vague term. So essentially, this is what the left or the far left or progressive left, whatever, have said for years. And then now he's sort of going, this is disgusting. Yeah. They're being debated. Do you think they're finally coming to terms with how this is bad for everybody?
I don't think so, because we've seen this so many times before. Every time a left-wing person gets on the wrong side of this, they see it as, a one-off case. Novara Media, for instance, I remember when they were briefly demonetised by YouTube, there was a big uproar, rightly so. I agree there should have been an uproar. But again, it wasn't seen as part of a broader pattern of an assault on free speech. You see now in cases where, that involve Israel and Palestine, where pro-Palestinian groups, or what people call pro-Palestinian groups, something like Palestine Action gets arrested, they see it as a specific thing. They see it as the establishment wanting to clamp down on, Palestinian activism, which obviously nothing, as you know, nothing could be further from the truth. This is the establishment position. But they don't see it as a principled issue. They don't see it as something that we need to fight for free speech for everyone. They think that they're being targeted by the shadow elites, and everyone else is probably causing too much of a fuss. People on the right, gender-critical feminists, well, they probably deserve it anyway, but we're good and we don't deserve it. So I'm afraid I don't see any of them coming to the light and seeing that free speech is important.
Well, fair enough. Look, I just want to quickly say, a spokesperson for Lloyd says we do not comment on individual customer accounts. I want to talk about another story this week about free speech. There was these pubs in Chiswick, and it seems like they had challenges to their seating outside, even though they'd had seating outside for 70 years. Yeah. There was a Green councillor who spoke up. Someone talked about this online. It kind of went viral. All of that in and of itself was somewhat mental. But then the police turned up in the pub with this, to kind of have a talk to the person who'd been criticising this Green councillor. Yeah, it was absolutely extraordinary. I mean, you see cases where even if you don't agree with them, you can understand that some woke principle has been violated, and then that leads the police to come to someone's door. But this was merely criticising a Green councillor over, what is clearly a matter of public interest and debate as to whether there should be outside seating at a local pub, right on the River Thames, while in the summer. He had actually won a sort of victory over the council. The council had agreed that these seats didn't need to be all taken away, and he should have been celebrating that victory, and instead he gets a stern talking to from a police officer. To be very clear, he hadn't committed a crime. And the police officer visiting out saying, you could commit a crime, we're giving you a warning. Do you think that there's possibly enough actual crime out there for the police to be investigating? Well, clearly there is, but I'm not convinced the police are that interested. And you can see in the video of the confrontation, the man who's being given a dressing down by the police, he says that, his daughter suffered a break-in and the police were not interested in coming to do anything about that. I think what you're seeing with some of these cases where it isn't to do with necessarily political correctness or wokeness or, some DEI principle, what is happening is that the police are increasingly just being used as the kind of rent-a-goons, I guess, a sort of rent-a-mob of people who are easily offended, but also people in positions of power. So we've seen previously where, if you work for a local authority, if you work for a school, you might be able to actually get the police to do your bidding. It's there were some parents who were sort of taken to a police station for some comments online. For criticising their daughter's school. Yeah. And, that's the exact case I had in mind. Essentially, it seemed to be that because someone from the school had made a complaint, and because a school is a trusted public institution, the police felt, well, we better go and arrest these parents, even though they'd done nothing wrong. Again, it became clear during the course of their interviews that no crime had been committed. The police didn't really seem aware of why they were having to arrest these two parents. Again, it should be the police's job to do that kind of investigation before hauling in innocent people to a police station. You would think so, and it is quite shocking. Even this case where Alistair, who was the person being who got the dressing down in Chiswick,
he's lucky not to be arrested, not to have been arrested, even if the allegations were completely bogus, even if there wasn't a crime. You know, many worse things have happened, but still, it's incredibly shocking that the police will send people out there to intimidate members of the public, to tell them that you're not allowed to complain about XYZ councillor, you're not allowed to have XYZ views on the use of public space and whether you can put tables and chairs out, you know, in front of a pub. I mean, it really is. We are really in police state territory here.
Yeah, I mean, there is one silver lining from that whole incident that I feel like, as a nation, we finally reached the kind of the Rubicon of where the British people have had enough. And it seems to be that if you take away our right to have a pint outside by a river, then there will anarchy will
absolutely, and I hope so. I think, you know, that's got to be the breaking point. You know, that is, you know, no further can this go. No pass around.
And there's another story I also very quickly want to get into. The Muslim Council are trying to get this film Citizen Vigilante.
Yeah.
They've sort of complained and they've said that it's Islamophobic, which is a highly contested claim. And is going to lead to increased incidences of Islamophobia or attacks against Muslims.
So this is a film, Citizen Vigilante, as you say. It's directed by a German director, Uwe Boll, famously poor director, makes very, very, very bad, schlocky horror films, usually. This is kind of a remake of, almost like a remake of Death Wish. So it's like a vigilante guy, and he goes around killing people or, you know, attacking people who the police refuse to arrest or who are given too light a sentence by the justice system. And, you know, the climax, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler because this is what everyone is talking about, is that and it's played by Armie Hammer, he kills an entire Muslim family after one of them is responsible for essentially a gang rape. Now, the film has got a lot of attention because, and, you know, this is a lesson that people refuse to learn all of the time, not because it's a good film, not because it's entertaining. I've watched it, it's really dull. But because it's been censored, and it was initially censored in Germany, where essentially their equivalent of the BBFC has said that they won't give it an age rating, and that means that it can't be shown in cinemas and can't be shown on certain streaming services. That then led Elon Musk to distribute the film for free. You can watch it on X, and I'm sure many, many thousands, if not millions of people, more people, will have seen this film as a result of this censoriousness. And I think if the Muslim Council of Britain or whoever's complaining about this film, if they're really worried about this film's message, then I would have just kept quiet because we're talking about it now. I'm sure people will, log on to see it on X out of sheer bloody mindedness. I would caution you against wasting your time because it is very bad. But I can see why people would be intrigued to watch it.
Well, Muslim Council, we did reach out to them for comment. They haven't got back to us. I would recommend that they look up something called the Streisand effect.
Exactly.
A spokesperson from the Met Police told GB News if an elected official calls police to say they feel intimidated because online comments are turning into a threat of real-world protests in the vicinity of their house, it would be negligent for officers not to look into this. The police play a vital role protecting parliamentarians and officials from threats and harassment. Our officers looked into this in a proportionate way. They were professional, polite and courteous and gave advice on new legislation, making it clear no offences had been committed. This was a proportionate and sensible prevention measure. The police do not get involved in campaigning disputes. We uphold free speech and freedom to protest and only intervene if this crosses the criminal threshold. In this case, we looked into the circumstances, found they did not meet that threshold and provided proportionate advice. Whew. Next on Free Speech Nation, Lisa Nandy has quit X and taken her government department with her. Are they ducking an app full of legitimate criticism from their own voters? In the meantime, big round of applause, Fraser Myers!
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Yeah, Cameron, Miriam, it's certainly feeling hot here today, 30 degrees, and it's only going to get hotter, of course, across the country. Many people feeling the heat as well. Those red weather warnings for extreme heat in place, saying that this heat could even cause a risk to life, urging people to take precautions. But spare a thought for people working in this heat, particularly those in kitchens. We can't come to the beach without a fish and chip shop. This is the Modern World Fish and Chip Shop in Brighton, and Ibrahim runs it. Ibrahim, just how hot is it inside your kitchen today?
It's an absolute scorcher, actually. It's okay. We're just about coping. We're taking precautions. We reduced one fry from 2 fries. We're down to 1. There's not much sales in food at the moment. It's mostly people trying to keep hydrated, waters, soft drinks, ice creams, beers.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
And the reason why Alex's head is a little bit sore this morning is because we are Trick Award winners.
Yes.
Again. For the 4th year in a row. We're absolutely delighted, aren't we? We're buzzing with this.
We are. And, yeah, I need some more sleep.
Listen to that voice. You sound like Orson Welles.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Hey, everybody. Got a very
Alex went
sultry voice today.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound good.
okay,
But you
maybe.
went for celebratory drinks last night, didn't you?
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Yeah.
You could put it celebratory
How's the
drinks.
head this morning?
Yeah, I think that the hangover's coming. Let's put it that way. Hangover is still due.
Oh, there you are. Look, there we
look.
are. GB News Breakfast winner. So it was in the news category yesterday, and we are absolutely delighted that you chose us because it is voted for by you.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, that is the question. Good morning to you both. It is very hot. Right now it's 25 degrees. Ordinarily, it might be this temperature about midday, but no, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 25 degrees and temperatures set to soar throughout the day into the mid-30s. If it gets higher than 35.1 degree today, then today will be the hottest day of the year. Many people forecasting that we could reach that threshold today. So that's one to look out for. But as you can see, many people keeping cool today. Somebody's here in the water. We've got people out to sea swimming as well, and many on the shoreline enjoying this hot weather, including John here I can speak to now. John, thanks for joining us this morning on GB News. Have you been in the sea yet? How are you keeping cool?
Yeah, I went in the sea. We were down about 7 o'clock this morning. Literally dived straight in.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. I'm joined in the studio by the writer and commentator Ada Akpala. Welcome to the show. Big round of applause. Ada, this week, Lisa Nandy, she basically was like, I'm going off X. I'm sick of it here. I'm out. And that is not a good look for democracy, is it?
It's not, and, you know, like a lot of people have said, it's very ironic. And also the jokes just write themselves, don't they? Especially when it comes to the Labour Party, because you have the Culture Secretary leaving one of the biggest spaces for communications, for engaging with the public, a space that actually influences and impacts culture directly or indirectly. And as Culture Secretary, she's running away. And as Kemi Badenoch hit the nail on the head, if you find that there's an issue with a platform with misinformation, then your job is actually to counter that, out-argue the bad information, bring better information. But what you don't do is just go out in a huff and say, actually, this is unhealthy for democracy.
Well, that's what it is. Arguably, she's doing the opposite. What her step, taking the culture department out of the loop, going, oh, we're just going to be over here where we're not getting questioned at all. That's bad for democracy. Where's the accountability?
Exactly, and I also have a problem with things like turning off replies. Like the public officials, state officials, need to remember who they're here to serve. They're public servants, and they're here to serve the people. That is democracy, ruled by the people, whether you have representatives or not. And I think they are forgetting that. I even saw another video by the West Midlands Police saying, actually, don't share this video anymore. And it's like, I think they're forgetting that actually the bedrock of a free society is engaging with what's happening out there so that things can improve, things can get better. And like you said, so that we can have the right channels to hold these people into account.
Yeah, and they seem to sort of fail to understand that actually X, which can be an incredibly toxic place, but it also does allow for us to see things. We can't really mention them because of legal issues, but there have been instances of police overreach where we wouldn't have seen this stuff. And surely there should be some acknowledgement from Lisa Nandy about that.
Well, there won't be, because I feel that it's an ideological thing, and that's why I think she didn't give any examples. What misinformation have you seen? And I think it's a political target of X, which is a bastion of has become a bastion of free speech.
Okay. Sorry, I've got to draw you. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got the weather now. Lots more between now and 9 o'clock. Big round of applause, please.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to a GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into the new week, we've got rainfall again in the northwest of Scotland, but high pressure is building and we'll start to see temperatures rising again through the week. Currently, we have high pressure situated to the southwest of the UK, fronts draped across the north, bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain. It's northwestern parts of Scotland that is going to see the rainfall accumulating 20 to 40 millimetres, possibly 100 in some spots, and that continuing to progress eastwards into Northern Isles as well. Further towards the south, there is going to be some murky conditions with low cloud and hill fog and some patchy rain and drizzle, but temperatures are going to be holding up around 15 to 17 degrees. So quite a mild start to Monday morning. It's a damp start for most of Scotland, but across Shetland, that's where we hold on to the clearest skies overnight, leading to a bright start on Monday morning. Further towards the west, that's where we have the rainfall warning until 10 o'clock. So outbreaks of rain continuing. Across Northern Ireland, Northern England, cloudy here, and for the west, across Wales and the southwest of England, some low cloud, hill fog, thick enough for some drizzle. Best of the sunshine across the south and east. Some of that sunshine could turn hazy as we go into the afternoon, that low cloud burning back to the coast, and then across Scotland, most of that rain does start easing as we head into the afternoon, but becomes more persistent across Orkney and Shetland later. Sunnier spells elsewhere. Again, sunshine might turn hazy for some of us, but otherwise temperatures are rising up to 31, possibly 32 degrees. It's a similar picture as we start Tuesday morning. Again, low cloud around, outbreaks of rain continuing across Scotland, perhaps not as heavy or persistent. Brighter spells further towards the south, and again, temperatures still rising. So it is going to be turning hot as we go through the week, Wednesday and Thursday in particular, but it won't be as high in terms of the humidity. Highs are up to 34.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Coming up on the show tonight, the Girl Guides are inviting trans burlesque dancers to teach kids about inclusion. I'm going to be joined by the journalist Janet Murray to discuss that, and have the Treasury ignore their staff's numeracy skills in a bid to chase diversity above all else. And historian David Olroyd Booth will join us in the studio to discuss the Southbank Centre moving on from their lefty-lovey leadership. Is a more sensible direction possible for the arts? And of course, my fantastic panel are answering questions from our wonderful studio audience. But first, let's get the news with Bethany Elsey.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 8:01. England is set to face Mexico tonight, but there's a risk the start of the game could be delayed or paused due to thunderstorms. Kick-off is at 1 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning at the Azteca Stadium. More than 7,000 police officers have been deployed to the grounds amid fears over the safety of fans, with England supporters being urged to arrive hours before the match and avoid certain areas after. The government says it's doing everything it can to deport the ringleader of the Rochdale grooming gang. Shabir Ahmed, who was freed this week after serving 14 years in prison for 30 child rape offences, says he can't go back to Pakistan as he renounced his citizenship and tore up his passport. Officials in Pakistan maintain the 73-year-old is no longer a citizen. The former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, has warned Andy Burnham against raising capital gains tax if he becomes the next Prime Minister, saying it would damage the economy. The MP for Makerfield is also planning to expand mansion tax to homes worth £1.5 million, a move that could leave more than 150,000 homeowners facing higher bills. It's reported Russian hackers have infiltrated the email accounts of UK government officials in a major national security breach. According to The Telegraph, the attack, which is ongoing, has exposed credentials for overseas Foreign Office staff and local government officials across the UK. Dark web forums are trading access to the logins for more than £40,000. Robert Jenrick says no rules have been broken at all by Nigel Farage after reports he failed to declare benefits provided by a friend who was once convicted of fraud. The Sunday Times says George Cottrell provided security and social media staff to Mr Farage in the year before he was elected. But Reform UK's Treasury spokesperson says there was no need to register the support as it was within a purely personal capacity and before he became an MP. And wildfires are continuing to burn across much of southern Europe amid a record-breaking heatwave. Spanish military crews are supporting firefighters in Portugal after fires broke out on Thursday. Nearly 30,000 acres have been destroyed. Meanwhile, the Tour de France could be forced to cancel the third stage of the Tour as wildfires rage across the southwest of the country. And back in the UK, temperatures are expected to reach 34 degrees next week, while a 7-day-long extreme heat warning is in force. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
This week, a stand-up comedy clip went viral. And it's upsetting, not only because it's not one of mine, but because personally, I think it's a disgusting slice of anti-Semitism. So far, it's had over 250,000 views, which is about the same as the number of Jews in this country, and I'm worried that as it continues going up and up, the latter number will keep going down and down. It's from someone called MC Hammersmith, and he's labelled the clip, "Comedian Destroys Zionists in Front Row with Freestyle Rap." I could have gone with comedian gives his career a boost by invoking modern blood libel against Jews, but that's a little less catchy. What it indicates, though, is how Jew hate is now seen as good for your career. A few months ago, we covered online commentators making millions from it, and since October 7th, 2023, a bunch of British and UK-based comedians have spread anti-Semitism on stage and online with little consequence, and indeed with boosts to their profile. Most of them are regularly touring. Some actually have been given high-profile TV spots, including on the BBC. So it's no surprise that lying about genocide and the murder of 20,000 babies is something to promote and be proud of, to plaster across your social media in the hope it'll go viral. This guy will probably get a sitcom out of it. Now, of course, this is Free Speech Nation. I don't want the clip removed from YouTube, and I think MC Hammersmith should be able to say what he wants on stage. Censorship only drives such opinions underground, and a comedy industry with freedom of expression is indicative of a healthy society, and I don't think we have either of those at the moment. What I am going to do, though, is explain exactly why I think it's racist. MC Hammersmith has his free speech. I'm going to use mine. It's all I can do. As to whether that'll change anything, well, that's the real question. The truth has become a numbers game. And years of lies, from Hamas to the NGOs, to the UN, to the BBC and legacy media, to politicians, and back around again, and now throwing comedians into the mix, has led to what I find most worrying about what I saw: the audience's reaction. They love it. They're laughing and whooping and cheering. As a comic, I've always wondered what that sounded like. Comedy is, of course, subjective. There's a good pun at the end, but I thought the rest of the clip was a bit rubbish. I'd hesitate to even call it comedy, more a parlour trick. Either way, it doesn't matter. Funny or not, a racist joke is still a racist joke. And the thing is, I bet those 400 people in the audience of the Comedy Store, started by two Jews, the birthplace of our self-proclaimed anti-racist comedy industry, would all consider themselves to be anti-racist. I'm sure MC Hammersmith, a.k.a. Will Nana, thinks he's an anti-racist. Yet, egged on and encouraged by an anti-racist audience, Will felt safe with his bullying and bigotry and spreading of Hamas propaganda. After finding out a brother and sister in the front row are from Israel, Will asks, "What's your favourite genocide?" And the audience goes wild. Mind you, for decades now, anti-Semites have been accusing Israel of committing genocide, even in the immediate days after October 7th, before the IDF were mobilised. In fact, there's nothing more that Jew haters like than accusing a people where 2/3 of European Jews were wiped out of themselves committing this heinous crime, to a Gazan population that today is in fact larger than it was before this latest war that they started. So yes, I think asking two Jews, who very likely had family murdered in the Holocaust, what their favourite genocide is, could possibly be construed as on dodgy ground. I'm a bit of a snowflake like that. But hey, this is comedy. You should have the right to be offensive. I just don't think you have the right to pretend you're anti-racist as well. Now, please excuse the whataboutery, but would asking a black couple what their favourite slave trade is elicit such whoops and cheers from an anti-racist audience and the anti-racist comedy industry? What about if Will had gone on to pointedly ignore the very existence of the Atlantic slave trade, as though it never happened? This is what Will said next in his list of genocides: Armenian, Bosnian, Cambodian, Rwandan, the one your government's committing. Do you notice anything missing? I'm pretty sure there's another genocide where more people were killed than all the others combined. It's on the tip of my tongue. So help me out, comedy industry. Help me to understand the rules of anti-racism. Accusing Jews of committing a fake genocide whilst erasing the real one that they suffered. Is that at least a microaggression? And what about then demanding a purity test in front of hundreds of baying strangers? Will goes on. Just because they're Israelis is xenophobic. We don't know if they support the Israeli government. Alas, it turns out that they're the bad Jews, the Jews who love killing innocent people, which makes them fair game for what comes next. At accountancy, you are skilled. You can use it to count the babies that Netanyahu killed. I can count them, I believe, about 20,000. Better than the blood libel of 40,000 babies starving in 48 hours that the BBC shared across the world, but still not true, and still blood libel. The latest incarnation after nearly millennia of Jews being murdered because of that same lie. Just last year, 2 Jews in Manchester murdered as a man slashing with a knife screamed over and over, "This is what they get for killing our children." Same blood libel. Same tragic consequences for Jews, now with added laughter. Nothing to see here. In fact, clip it up. Put on subtitles, get the clicks, sell the tour. Just remember to put in brackets, no Zionists, please. Remember to label it, comedian destroys Zionists. Because everyone knows, as long as you put Zionists after the fact, you can say whatever you like about Israelis and Jews. And if you are an Israeli or Jew who thinks Jews have the right to self-determination in our indigenous homeland, well, maybe you'd be better off staying at home, away from the Comedy Store, away from polite society, away from the anti-racists. Or you don't. You stand tall. You refuse to be shamed by their racist lies and their despicable hypocrisy. You refuse to be dehumanised. You refuse to be silenced. Well, really? Guys, what? Me? That's the first time I've had applause. You know, I saw this clip. It was on the day of my son's bar mitzvah last week.
I was there.
Yeah, you were at the bar mitzvah, and I saw and I just couldn't stop myself from, even though I was incredibly busy that day, I had to put something out there because it was so infuriating and so upsetting to see this clip put out there, proudly put out there. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
They can all go to hell, a lot of them.
Yeah.
They'll have it coming to them. They really will. I grew up with these people. I know what they're like. They're liars, they're cowards, they're lazy. And they're living in a complete a pack of lies because they can't face the truth.
No.
So it's easy to blame the Jews. But like I said, they'll have it coming to them, and I mean that.
Yeah, it was very. Now I don't want to. I want to let you into a little secret, Cresta. Jews don't run the world, but we are in a lot of WhatsApp groups together.
I believe you.
Yeah, I mean, look, the danger is, of course, I'm calling attention to this video. It's had over 250,000 views already. I don't think the Streisand effect is going to massively take place and it's going to get so many more views because of this. But what do you think should be done? Do you call it out? Do you just kind of hope that it goes away?
It's a free speech situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think he broke any laws. I think I'm probably a free speech absolutist anyway. It certainly put me in mind of a lot of times I've been in comedy clubs where there's this kind of, I don't want to say coercion, but you can feel that there's a fashionable view. And I remember during the Me Too times, there were the most extraordinary things said about men. And I used to sit there thinking, well, that's not necessarily true or fair. And it's sort of, I mean, also it's 400 drunk people in a comedy club. You know what it's like. Everybody gets whipped up. I don't know whether if you asked every individual person whether they would necessarily think that was brilliant. But what really frustrated me, and I've seen it a lot in comedy over the years, is that kind of little bit of arrogance from the performer. Like, of course I'm right. You know, I don't need to justify this. But then on the other hand, it's his art. He's allowed to do what he likes.
Well, this is it. As a comic, there's been plenty of times that I have been accused of being offensive. Sometimes it was even true. I definitely was offensive. I didn't necessarily mean to be, but you could see, and when you're talking about these kind of issues of ethnicity in particular, but I don't think I ever went out of my way and sort of deliberately picked on somebody.
They deliberately pick on us because they know that we're never going to go for them. They can go to sleep at night, tuck their head, put their head on their blanket. They know there's not going to be a Jew coming and firebombing their house or killing their children or going into their daily comedy store. They know that this is not actually going to affect their life in any way because Jews are quite peaceful people. They know that. So they can spout all this stuff, but as I say, it comes from a place of cowardice. Because they know there won't be any reaction. There are other groups of people that they would not dare to criticise because they know the consequences. Because those groups of people would come into the Comedy Store and kill them. I mean, look at Charlie Hebdo, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they're complete and utter cowards, in my opinion, because they know that Jews are good, peaceful people, so they think it's a legitimate target to go for us because there'll be no consequence for their supposed bravado. And that goes for Bob Villan and all these other people.
Yeah, if they really thought that Jews were committing a genocide, then you might think that they'd actually be worried. But of course...
Yeah, exactly. If you had two Nazis in your audience in the 30s, you wouldn't be like, oh, you silly Nazi. They'll come and blow your brains out. So they know on another level that we're not going to do that. That's why they do it.
And there's a difference between criticism here, Cressida, and I'm with you. Like, the point is, I don't want his right to be curtailed to say what he wants on stage. But the difference is that there's a difference between criticism and there's a difference between the spreading of in this case, blood libel. Now, in America, they have their free speech limitations are about direct incitement to violence, and I think that that's the way it should be. My issue here, I guess, is that all of these people, as I said, that we know, friends of ours, people we've worked in the industry, they all consider themselves to be these anti-racists. Yet they seem totally willing to turn a blind eye, not just this MC Hammersmith, but to a bunch of comedians who have come out with the most outrageous racism over the last few years and absolutely turned a blind eye, and in some cases they've actually been rewarded.
Well, and that's what this show is for, isn't it? For you to give the other side of that. Well, you know, and I appreciate that might not feel satisfactory in the least. I mean, it's really difficult, isn't it? I felt for those two audience members in particular. I've always thought people that complain in comedy clubs shouldn't be in comedy clubs. I feel that really strongly, you know, when you hear...
And I don't even think they've necessarily complained or anything. It's just this guy put the clip out himself.
But 9 times out of 10, it's a very easy thing to say, isn't it? Because you think, oh, you shouldn't go to a comedy club if you can't handle it. And that was a bit of a, ooh, you know, obviously it's very uncomfortable. I
just doubt he would have in any way, as you were saying, Miriam, he would have in any way accused any other ethnicity of lies like that, of laying into them that. And as I also said in the thing, it's the fact that the audience encouraged it, sort of let him go. No one challenged him. So that suggests to me that a good proportion of this country agree with this, genuinely think there's a genocide going on.
The comedy establishment is a kind of mecca for the liberal elite, and the liberal elite are all anti-Semitic. The rest of the country, maybe not. I don't think that this is I don't want to tar the whole of the British public with this, because I think this is the Comedy Store. This is like Edinburgh. We had, you know, Jews that weren't allowed to perform at Edinburgh last year. I do think there's a nefarious, dark Jew hatred, although they won't call it that. They'll call it anti-Zionism, which I don't think they know what they're talking about, and it exists within this kind of cliquish industry, and the people that go to these clubs, that, you know, that's going to become acceptable for them, and for that sort of darkness to inhabit that. But no, I'm not going to say it's the rest of the UK, because it certainly isn't.
No, I think that's a very good point, and it's such a shame that Comedy Store... I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the Comedy Store booked comedians with jokes. Rather than sort of gimmicky...
Those of us in glass houses. Go on.
No, I mean, I used to be... I mean, it's not like it's the most original thing. I'm just saying I used to have a hip-hop guy, Jewish... My band was called Circumcised. I was Joshua X, Snip Doggy Dog. But the point is that what do you think? What is the reaction? That people, just some acknowledgement that maybe this was not actually this was prejudiced behaviour.
What is the acknowledgement? What that I would like to see?
Well, I don't know. When I was thinking about this monologue, I was just thinking, what do I want? What if I could have a dream world? What actually would it be? And I think it's actually, like I said, the scariest part for me was this liberal audience. Just you see the dehumanisation of Jews in front of your very eyes.
I'd almost guarantee half of them are just scared and thinking, I better say the right thing. You know, not that that makes it any better, but I'm just... I just know what comedy clubs are like, you know, and there's always a prevailing opinion. That's the one you're supposed to have. Well, since I've been in them anyway, I mean, hopefully not. Well, no, maybe it was always like that. I don't. People,
it was always like that.
Isn't it? Once you're in there, people are trying to comply with the group.
Yeah, but then you sort of go, well, how do bad things happen? How does racism? How do people get attacked? Well, it's because of this cowardice on a group scale. GB News reached out to MC Hammersmith for comment, but he did not reply. We have not heard back from him. The Comedy Store would presumably deny accusations of anti-Semitism, or they platform anti-Semitism. Next on Free Speech Nation, when he answering some more audience questions. See you in 2 minutes.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news,
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the
failure
is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. My comedian guests this evening are Miriam Elliott and Cressida Wetton. We're going to get some questions from our audience, and our first one is from Mark.
Well, good evening. We've got some interesting subjects today. Here's a very basic one. Should workers at the Treasury be able to count?
So, should workers at the Treasury be able to count? Well, you would think so. The Treasury abandoned numeracy to boost diversity. That's according to findings from The Spectator. It's true. They say the numerical reasoning test, or NRT, was removed due to evidence of the test having adverse impact on candidate diversity. Cressida, what is the world that we're living in?
That some people can count and others can't, because that sounds... I mean, that really does sound extraordinarily racist.
Yes, they are. That is exactly what it is.
And also, part B to my answer, no, because we desperately need the Treasury to be able to count. Let's not have standards slip any further in this mad society that we live in.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just that. They also, I believe, they've taken away other tests. They're so desperate to get this diverse quota, hit their diverse quotas, that they will game the system.
Yeah, their entire moral outlook on the world is based on melatonin, basically. So they want people to look different. It doesn't matter how or well they can do their job, even if they can count or not. It's so deeply condescending, patronising, racist. It's the most insidiously shallow philosophy that anyone could employ, and for some reason people lap it up. I don't understand. It's pathetic, but it's coming to an end.
Do you think it's coming, Chris? I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's been exposed, but it's just if anything I've learned over the last couple of years is the exposure's not enough. This stuff needs to be rooted out.
Because George Orwell would have written his first pamphlet and gone home, and we'd all be just living a great life. People can't be trusted, can they? We make mistakes. No, I don't think it's coming to an end. I mean, those of us that don't like it are getting bolder, I think. Well, that's how I personally feel.
No, I think so. I think people are speaking out more.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will start a little bit of change, and we can get some better counters at the Treasury. HM Treasury said it is complete nonsense to suggest that we have lowered our hiring standards for the sake of diversity. We're proud we employ people from a wide range of backgrounds while maintaining rigorous merit-based recruitment to ensure that we have the very best people developing and delivering economic policy. Well, our next question is from Vaid.
Hi, Josh. Is a watermelon a political symbol?
Is a watermelon a political symbol? Wimbledon has ruled that a watermelon symbol, widely associated with Palestine, does not breach its rules on political messaging, despite a player claiming she was barred from wearing a pro-Palestine pin during this year's championships. The All England club said the watermelon-shaped vibration dampener attached to a Turkish player's racket did not meet the threshold for punishment, even though tournament rules prohibit political messaging from players on court. Vaid, you've got a bonsai tree on your T-shirt there. Does that mean that you don't like samurais? I don't know what I'm talking about here.
I'm wondering why they've chosen actually a watermelon. To me, at least, if they're terrorists, associated with terrorism, and they're quite aggressive, probably a cactus fruit would have been a better choice. At least it's thorny. So, yeah, I'm still wondering why they've chosen watermelon. And in reality...
Well, it's the colours, obviously, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, I do not like promoting those sort of things in, big tournaments anyway. People go there to enjoy just the sport, away from political views or anything. But pushing that onto everybody else in the audience, I don't think is a good thing.
Yeah, what do you think, Chris? Because there is some hypocrisy, though, that there was the Ukrainian tennis player, she was allowed to wear her pin. Now, it's two very different situations, but you could make the argument that that's also a political message.
Yeah, ask a Russian what they think. I mean, I guess there are not many Russians there. I completely agree. Do you remember when you used to be able to go to festivals and, buy sandwiches and it wasn't a political statement? And now absolutely everything that you do, you buy a piece of clothing and they want to tell you that the fabric isn't problematic, and it just goes on and on and on. I do think there's a difference between the Ukrainian pin and
I think there is a difference as well, but that was what people would say.
I just don't have any of it. I agree, it's a sporting event,
Yeah, well, the Ukrainians have been invaded and Gaza invaded Israel. Are you triggered by... Because I noticed at this bar mitzvah, we had some watermelon out, you avoided it. You were triggered by the watermelon.
No, I was just thinking how much I love watermelon. I had some yesterday, and it's just the best weather for it. It's such a shame it's been co-opted by a jihadist terror organisation.
Yeah,
but it's still a watermelon.
It is watermelon. Don't punish the watermelon.
In terms of what it means to put it on a badminton racket, yeah, she's sort of bigging them up, isn't she? So she shouldn't be allowed to do that. No.
Yeah, no.
I'd say no. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but they've, she's going to mark her heads red as well and do that whole, I killed a Jew, yeah. That's what it means. They just want to kill us all. Just cut to the chase,
Yeah.
They want to kill us all. Here is the watermelon that for some reason means kill all of them.
There we go. OK, I thought they wanted to play tennis, but, multitasking. Jamie Baker, who's the Wimbledon tournament director, said, we don't allow political messaging from players on court, certainly that cause any type of disruption. So that has been consistent across the rules for a long time. In terms of the watermelon, we don't think that's meeting the threshold for causing any type of disruption. So our next question is from Eleanor.
Hi, should white working class people go to university?
Should white working class people go to university? Now, white working class students are excluded from almost all Oxbridge diversity scholarships. Analysis from The Telegraph has found more than a dozen scholarships, bursaries and financial aid schemes are available to Oxford and Cambridge University students prioritising their ethnicity over their socio-economic background. So, Cresta, you basically got rich black people, brown people of colour, whatever you BAME, going to university, getting these bursaries, and yet if you're a white working class, which is the smallest minority at Oxbridge, are not being given those same advantages.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not on, is it? We know university is a terrible idea for everybody now. Nobody should be going. It's completely unfair. Of course, it's just outrageous. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's racism again. Apart from anything else, you always get with these organisations, they tell you that that they want to recruit people based on these diversity quotas and so proud of it. And then when you get to the end of that process and you have a person of colour with their degree or whatever they've achieved, it's completely taken away from them. And yet at that point, you're supposed to believe that they got there on merit, which is just so condescending. So even if it were the case that it were less likely that a person of colour could get to the top, whatever that means, you've now made it impossible because you just undermine the whole system, and that's what's so horrible about this.
And also, we just have this crisis now where you have particularly white working class boys who are just massively underrepresented.
No, it's so sad because they have all the talent, really. I mean, look at some of the most.
Talent, but
they have so much talent. They have so much creativity and talent that needs to be harnessed and has historically been harnessed in this country, and they're being treated appallingly badly. But in some ways, I often think to myself, maybe the reason that they haven't been to Oxford and Cambridge and all these places means they're still sane.
Okay, yeah.
You know, because really what have these universities become but left-wing indoctrination facilities?
Fair enough.
Really, what are they so fantastic at?
The problem is, though, they might go on to then try and pair up with a woman who has been, and that's not going to go very well.
Wow.
No, but it's true. All these like overeducated, far-left women, and then a few blokes.
Cressida, stop talking about yourself. A University of Oxford spokesman said, "We are committed to ensuring all students with the potential to study at Oxford are not prevented from doing so by their financial circumstances or background. Our undergraduate financial support package is provided on the basis of household incomes, regardless of ethnicity. We have expanded our schemes in recent years so that around 1 in 4 of our UK undergraduates, including many students from white working class backgrounds, now receive university financial support, with 10.4 million provided in total for 2020 to 25. Cambridge University said something similar. Cambridge provides one of the most generous bursary support packages in the UK. More than 10 million of funding is available each year through the Cambridge Bursary Scheme to all students from low-income households. Our final question is from Natan.
So I'm assuming that you've all probably watched Jaws.
Sure, it's a bit scary for me, but yeah.
Pretty famous movie. Was Jaws a conservationist?
Was Jaws a conservationist? Thank you, Natan. Australian beaches have increasingly been infested with sharks since great whites. Are we allowed to say great whites anymore? I don't know. Surely that's triggering someone somewhere. Were protected nationwide in 2000. Not in Oxford, that's for sure. So were protected nationwide. Destroy that statue. And various state governments started to restrict or close down shark fisheries in the mid-2010s. This is quite a funny story. I mean, look, it's not funny that people are getting, you know, all those surfers deserve it, they're getting eaten. But it's just that conservationists won't acknowledge that it's because there are now more sharks, and they won't sort of say how many sharks there are. Even though before they were like, oh, sharks are about to be wiped out. Now they're like, oh, we don't know how many sharks there are.
Do you mean it's because they've just stopped them from being attacked, so the sharks are having a field day?
They've conserved the sharks.
They've conserved
the sharks. There are now lots of sharks.
Exactly what you'd expect.
They conserved the rats in Highgate Woods, and now the rats are just having a free-for-all. My entire life, I was walking Highgate Woods, they're just everywhere having a party. Huge rats.
So what your solution?
I'm trying to bring it back to the UK, but over there, conservation sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so get some sharks, import them into Highgate Woods.
No, but it's the idea that, you know, you can't intervene with nature and you must respect it all and it's all good, and the sharks are actually really intelligent and wise and kind, you know, and they have their own little ecosystem of beautiful shark cultures. And then, you know, lo and behold, shark attacks go up because there's a lot of sharks.
Stop, like, you know, when you're at school, they used to check for head lice. Or is that just encouraged now? Just let them colonise the children?
It's actually... I do think there's a slightly warped kind of thing where they tell children now that a predator is not actually a predator. This is part of the ideological framework.
The shark identifies as a dolphin.
The shark, no, but saying that, you know, for example, they were teaching my children that, you know, the big bad wolf and the Red Riding Hood, that the big bad wolf wasn't actually the big bad wolf. He's actually a really lovely wolf. It's the grandma that had the problem. So it's saying that... I bring this back to sharks. We're saying that nature is good and kind and benign and wonderful and loving and blah, and we just misunderstand it. You know,
that's
really we shouldn't be scared. We shouldn't be fearful But this is absolutely incorrect, you know. I told my son, if you see a wolf coming at you, run, you know.
Fair enough.
Or a shark.
When my kid, we actually showed Jaws to our like 2-year-old. We just put him in front of it and just say, yeah, but never go swimming, ever. Next on Free Speech Nation, another row has erupted at Girl Guiding after it emerged that a biological man had been tasked with helping shape the organisation's future. And this man likes a little dance. See you in 2 minutes.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, and welcome to your Holiday Sun forecast from the Met Office. It's still going to be hot across parts of Spain and Portugal over the next few days, and there are a few showers further east. But across Lisbon, we get up to 38 degrees, into the mid-30s across mainland Spain as well. But the further east we go, there is some outbreaks of some showers, possibly even some thunderstorms across Turkey as well, but still pretty warm here in that sunshine. Those showers will ease, and as we go through the week, those temperatures are slowly on the rise.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to a GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into the new week, we've got rainfall again in the northwest of Scotland, but high pressure is building and we'll start to see temperatures rising again through the week. Currently, we have high pressure situated to the southwest of the UK, fronts draped across the north, bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain. It's northwestern parts of Scotland that is going to see the rainfall accumulating, 20 to 40 millimetres, possibly 100 in some spots, and that continuing to progress eastwards into Northern Isles as well. Further towards the south, there is going to be some murky conditions with low cloud and hill fog and some patchy rain and drizzle, but temperatures are going to be holding up around 15 to 17 degrees. So quite a mild start to Monday morning. It's a damp start for most of Scotland, but across Shetland, that's where we hold on to the clearest skies overnight, leading to a bright start on Monday morning. Further towards the west, that's where we have the rainfall warning until 10 o'clock. So outbreaks of rain continuing. Across Northern Ireland, Northern England, cloudy here, and for the west, across Wales and the southwest of England, some low cloud, hill fog, thick enough for some drizzle. Best of the sunshine across the south and east. Some of that sunshine could turn hazy as we go into the afternoon, that low cloud burning back to the coast, and then across Scotland, most of that rain does start easing as we head into the afternoon, but becomes more persistent across Orkney and Shetland later. Sunnier spells elsewhere. Again, sunshine might turn hazy for some of us, but otherwise temperatures are rising up to 31, possibly 32 degrees. It's a similar picture as we start Tuesday morning. Again, low cloud around, outbreaks of rain continuing across Scotland, perhaps not as heavy or persistent. Brighter spells further towards the south, and again, temperatures still rising. So it is going to be turning hot as we go through the week, Wednesday and Thursday in particular, but it won't be as high in terms of the humidity, highs of up to 34.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. We have got an astonishing story now. It's emerged that a transgender burlesque performer who performs under the stage name Violet Hugh was invited by the Girl Guides to help shape the organisation's future approach to transgender inclusion. The biological male was asked to contribute to discussions exploring how transgender girls and transgender women could be better supported within the organisation, despite announcing it would restrict membership to biological girls and young women only. That is a photo of them there, and that is exactly who you want giving advice to an organisation that you're going to send your daughter to. Well, the journalist behind the story now joins me. Janet Murray, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I mean, there's the photo. That's a very natural pose for a lot of women, right? That's how women tend to pose in front of the mirror with hitching themselves up. But that's a typical,
perfectly normal.
Totally normal,
and
exactly what you would want to
the kind of person you'd want to be your child's guide leader. Yeah, definitely.
Teach them ways of femininity. And
yeah. So this is a story, as you know, I've been working on for quite some months now, and I actually came across this story back in March, I think it was, and I came across these pictures and video of this guy who identifies as a woman who had. It's just unbelievable, really. Had been accepted as a Girl Guide leader, had previously shared his transition journey on LinkedIn, including going into quite some detail about the transition process and the medication that he was taking, and sharing pictures also of his burlesque dancing that he did in his spare time. I don't know how much you know about burlesque dancing. Do you know much about it at all?
No, I don't know much about burlesque. I know full-on stripping, but I'm not familiar with the burlesque element of it.
Well, I've got more familiar with burlesque dancing, and it's quite a kind of like sexualised kind of dancing anyway. And
I saw the clip, and he's got a pole, and he's simulating
masturbation. And am I not allowed to say that? Am I not allowed to say that? Did you just bleep it out anyway? Beeped it out.
Too late.
Too late. Sorry. Anyway, simulating naughty things. And on this particular video, wearing stockings, suspenders, basque,
just the traditional Girl Guides outfit.
Yeah, the traditional Girl Guides outfit. So extraordinarily, he was accepted as a Girl Guide leader. Then later resigned after Girl Guides said that they were no longer going to have men in the organisation. But then they put together this kind of steering committee of about 16 people, and this man was one of the 4 people that they picked to advise them on how to keep men and boys involved, which was a bit bizarre anyway, given the fact that they were no longer allowed to be part of it. So he was deemed to be suitable. He'd written, I've seen a letter where he'd written to the head of safeguarding to say, I see no problem with sharing changing rooms with women. I do it all the time. This didn't seem to flag anything up at all for the head of safeguarding. But obviously stories like this are legally quite sort of contentious. It's taken me quite some time to be able to get the mainstream media to cover this story. He wasn't the only person actually on that steering committee.
Now, by the way, it should be said, there's no indication this person has done anything wrong whatsoever, has committed a crime or intended to commit a crime or anything like that.
No.
We are purely talking about whether that is the kind of person that you would want.
And I think it's really important to say that regardless of whether this is a man, a woman, a trans person, not a trans person, I think any of us would be a bit disturbed if somebody that was volunteering in a children's organisation was posting that kind of material of themselves online, just full stop. If it was woman, man, trans person, it's actually got nothing to do with it at all. And it really is quite concerning, I think, in terms of, again, it feels like an organisation that's kind of looking the other way.
Well, this is the issue, isn't it? Is it because it'd be interesting to know if this was a biological woman posting this kind of content, whether the Girl Guides would have said, actually, maybe you're not for us. But as you say, would they look the other way because we are so desperate to be inclusive? And that's kind of almost like a little parable for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and something else that came out from this investigation was that I've spoke to a number of whistleblowers who've worked inside the organisation or currently are, and they've described this kind of atmosphere of fear where it's just not acceptable to... It's kind of deemed, normal to think that isn't this a terrible shame that men and boys can't be involved in this girls' organisation anymore, and to say otherwise you're just not going to go there because you could potentially be ostracised or, you know, there's just this atmosphere of, no, we don't say that. Gender-critical views are just not allowed in this organisation, and that's quite an uncomfortable way to work. I think most of us would find that quite difficult and just uncomfortable, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And as a parent whose daughter is just finishing now and is about to go into the Girl Guides, she's finishing the Brownies. It's like, wait a minute, how much investigation do I need to do before sending her off?
Yeah, and it's fair to say, having looked into this a lot, you know, this is not happening in every single unit up and down the country. These are, you know, one-off incidences, but they're still really important, and the public needs to know about it. And if things are not being picked up that are concerning, then you know, the public needs to know, don't they?
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Big round of applause, please, for Janet Myers. Keep on unearthing this stuff in. Now, Girl Guiding spokesman said to the Daily Mail, the recent changes to our policy were driven by the Supreme Court ruling. Throughout this process, we've taken extensive independent professional advice so we could act with confidence and authority. The safeguarding and safety of our members is and always will be our first priority. The task force explored opportunities for trans girls and trans women to connect with and be supported by Girl Guiding while continuing to operate within our equality and diversity policy and the law. It wasn't seeking to reverse the decision, but instead offered a safe space to share ideas. Conversations are now finished and the ideas are now being considered. Well, when we find out, I'm sure that Janet will be back. Next on Free Speech Nation, the controversial chairman of the Southbank Centre is on his way out. We're going to have all the latest on that in a couple of minutes. See you then.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The final preparations before a world first. At RAF Wittering in Cambridgeshire, these JCB mechanics and engineers are attempting to rewrite history, chasing a world land speed record with a hydrogen car. The JCB Hydromax puts out 1,600 horsepower, powered entirely by 2 hydrogen-fuelled internal combustion engines. The 32-foot-long vehicle is trying to beat JCB's existing record, which was achieved with a diesel engine back in 2006. It reached a speed of over 350 miles an hour. For chairman of JCB Lord Bamford, the new car is about pushing the boundaries of new technology.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Father's Day has long been a fixture in the family calendar. But as household budgets remain under pressure, some are questioning whether the tradition of buying gifts is beginning to fade. Jim Cox has worked in the gift-giving industry for more than 30 years and says Father's Day simply isn't the draw it once was.
We're kind of reliant on the big gifting period. Father's Day is probably the weakest of like the bigger gifting events. It's picked up a bit this week, but probably not as much as I would expect. And I think generally people, like average basket size isn't really where I'd want it either. So I think people are spending a bit less, being a bit careful, and also thinking general trend in gifting is thinking maybe about experiences and spending time with people.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What does it do for people who are wounded, injured or sick veterans? What does it do for them to do this sort of voyage on this wonderful sailing ship?
Good morning. It is that human impact, and that's why Turn to Starboard exists, and even at the Invictus Games Birmingham 2027. It's about giving people maybe a reset, maybe seeing, taking that breath, but also a bit of camaraderie as well. Literally everybody's in the same boat. The blue environment is completely different. Everything is different on a boat. Walking, sitting down, making a cup of tea, even going to the loo is slightly different. So we can give people a break from sort of the pressures of life.
GB News, the People's Channel.
welcome back to Free Speech Nation. An anti-Semitism row has erupted at the Southbank Centre after allegations emerged that its chairman, Miss Anne Harriman, apparently shared anti-Semitic posts, including a conspiracy theory about coverage of April's Golders Green stabbings and videos suggesting that Jewish people were advertising Palestinian land in British synagogues. It's now been revealed he'll step down in August when his second term expires in a few months. Well, joining us to discuss this is the historian, broadcaster and writer David Olroyd Booth. Welcome to the show. It should be said, David, that actually the hoo-ha about this guy existed before allegations of anti-Semitism reared their ugly head.
Yeah, so it's, as long-standing viewers will know, it's everybody's favourite arts administrator, Miss Anne Harriman, back in the news again. He was appointed in 2021 to be the chairman of the Southbank Centre, which is one of the best-funded public arts bodies in the country. It receives now about £17 million a year of your money. And I think this is the problem. Harriman is a man with absolutely no background in arts administration, no background running a large organisation of any kind, still less one which has to be accountable to the taxpayer. He's someone who is the son of a billionaire father in Nigeria, went to Bradfield College, one of the country's leading independent schools.
Sounds very impressed.
Of course he is. And then after his oppressive schooling at Bradfield, one of the only schools still to do an annual play in ancient Greek, he then went on to a highly successful career in the city as a headhunter, where he made a lot of money, as is evident from his new film, which shows him in his extremely large house. So this is not somebody who came up through the world of the arts, knows it intimately, knows the people, knows the funding structures and so on. It's someone who was picked because his wife gave him a camera for his 40th birthday, and he then decided to take some pictures of Black Lives Matter, and this made him a superstar in the eyes of certain people.
Wow, and so those people, I guess, they were like, well, let's let this person run this immensely
I mean,
prestigious news.
You might call it tokenism, others might call it giving the underdog a chance. I would like to think that they have learnt their lesson after this, because Harriman was appointed in 2021. The chairman serves a 3-year term. He was reappointed in 2024, but has now announced that he will not continue, will not seek a reappointment, and indeed will not finish this term.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things is that the Southbank, though it has gained in visitor numbers over recent years, has lost £5 million from the pre-Harriman amount that it was gaining in donations. There are a lot of people who have withdrawn their support, private support, from the Southbank Centre because they find Mr Harriman's public politicising so distasteful. Equally, there have been a great many people speaking on conditions of anonymity to the Daily Telegraph, which ran a long piece about this a week ago or so, saying that he's simply not up to the job. He is there to advertise himself and his pet causes, so Black Lives Matter, Extinction Rebellion, Palestine must be free, all of these things, and he goes big on this on social media. He wears T-shirts advertising these things. He's in no way doing this in a private capacity. He is doing this using the position and being paid for by you and your viewers. And I think this is completely inappropriate. The Charity Commission must look very hard at how this man was appointed in the first place, why he was reappointed, and how he was not held to account by the remainder of the board and the trustees of the Southbank Centre for what is very clearly nakedly partisan campaigning in a public office.
Do you think that they actually will? I mean, there have been, as you say, people are saying you should continue this investigation because we need to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen again, right?
Well, exactly. Danny Cohen, who formerly ran the BBC, has been one of the people saying most vociferously that this investigation must continue, that those responsible for his appointment in the first place and his reappointment must not be anywhere near it, and that all public bodies now must stick to impartiality.
All right. Well, a spokesperson for the Southbank Centre said Miss Anne will step down as chair of the Southbank Centre board this autumn during the 6th and final year of his term. This timetable was initially discussed internally last year, was agreed with Deputy Chair of the board in January. The decision predates recent media coverage and has no connection to it. GB News asked Miss Anne Harriman for comment, but he did not respond. Well, that is the end of our show. Thank you very much to David. Big round of applause. Thank you very much to our audience. Thank you guys coming in. Good luck, obviously, England at the football coming up, and thank you for joining us for Free Speech Nation. We're going to go now to Alex. Alex, there he is sitting over there right now. Alex, what do you got on your show?
Thank you very much, Josh. Yes, I'm going to be asking tonight, should you be supporting England if you live in this country? I've got some wild clips to bring you. And I think we've got a bit of an identity crisis, haven't we? So we'll be talking about that. Of course, Zach Polanski's in a little bit of trouble. We've got some really interesting stuff to share with you about the Green Party. And should kids be going to Pride marches? Loads coming up on the show. We're going to turn this place into a pub at 11 o'clock to give you all of the England warm-up. See you in 2.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to a GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into the new week, we've got rainfall again in the northwest of Scotland, but high pressure is building and we'll start to see temperatures rising again through the week. Currently, we have high pressure situated to the southwest of the UK, fronts draped across the north, bringing cloud and outbreaks of rain. It's northwestern parts of Scotland that is going to see the rainfall accumulating, 20 to 40 millimetres, possibly 100 in some spots, and that continuing to progress eastwards into Northern Isles as well. Further towards the south, there is going to be some murky conditions with low cloud and hill fog and some patchy rain and drizzle, but temperatures are going to be holding up around 15 to 17 degrees. So quite a mild start to Monday morning. It's a damp start for most of Scotland, but across Shetland, that's where we hold on to the clearest skies overnight, leading to a bright start on Monday morning. Further towards the west, that's where we have the rainfall warning until 10 o'clock. So outbreaks of rain continuing. Across Northern Ireland, Northern England, cloudy here, and for the west, across Wales and the southwest of England, some low cloud, hill fog, thick enough for some drizzle. Best of the sunshine across the south and east. Some of that sunshine could turn hazy as we go into the afternoon, that low cloud burning back to the coast, and then across Scotland, most of that rain does start easing as we head into the afternoon, but becomes more persistent across Orkney and Shetland later. Sunnier spells elsewhere. Again, sunshine might turn hazy for some of us, but otherwise temperatures are rising up to 31, possibly 32 degrees. It's a similar picture as we start Tuesday morning. Again, low cloud around, outbreaks of rain continuing across Scotland, perhaps not as heavy or persistent. Brighter spells further towards the south, and again, temperatures still rising. So it is going to be turning hot as we go through the week, Wednesday and Thursday in particular, but it won't be as high in terms of the humidity. Highs are up to 34.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time.
But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented